Happy Tuesday, Adam. Welcome back to the show, everybody. How are we feeling today, boys?
We're feeling pretty interested about Fractal. I'm interested to learn kind of what's happening in the Fractal space. I haven't been following it that closely, but definitely interested to hear what's up. Hopefully we'll get some. I just sent out some DMs, people who were supposed to come on who were building on Fractal, and so I'm really interested to see what's happening. Obviously, my interest in Bell's coin kind of relates to Fractal because these guys are rolling out Opcat, they're bringing it all, and so to see what's happening on Fractal and see what hits, that's what I'm excited to learn about.
Yeah, we're starting this an hour early today. Had to wake up at the crack of dawn to get this started.
I think Vivian's on the other side of the world. I'm quite sure. Vivian, how
Yeah.
you doing today?
Hey guys. Actually, I don't know what time zone are you guys in. It's pretty late. It's pretty
We
late.
usually say Eastern, although we're spread out. I'm in Costa Rica. Jake and Chris are in Vegas, so they're West Coast time. But we usually say, New York City time because it's just easier. People can kind of triangulate. But where are you located?
Cool. Yeah, cool places to be in. I'm based in Singapore, so I think we're exactly like 12 hours apart.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's I mean it's definitely not my bedtime, but it's pretty late.
I feel that. I learned that. I just traveled Asia for about 3 weeks and learned the time disparity. It's quite tough, but I appreciate you for being here. Would you like to just start off with us with just tell us a little bit about who's Vivian, what's your role with the Unisat and Fractal team, and as everyone comes in, we'll dive into some of the specifics.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. I mean, I usually sleep like maybe 5 hours from now, so this is totally fine. But yeah, I'm really happy to be here to talk more about Fractal and what we're doing, and I'm eager to actually hear from the builders what they're doing as well. I think we only talked to a very small portion of the people that are actually building on Fractal. I think a lot of people are like secretly cooking stuff, but like they don't bother to reach out to us. So we don't get a lot of information as well. So I'm really excited to hear from the builders and the community. So I'm Vivian. I'm with the Unisat team, and most of us, if not all of us, are focused both on Unisat and Fractal at the same time. I work basically in operations. So basically in a startup, you kind of do a bit of everything, like from BD, marketing, community side, a bit of everything apart from like being a developer and working on products. So everything else is kind of you have to share it with your colleagues. But yeah, it's exciting. And so on the Fractal side, I'm more on ecosystem growth. So I do talk to some of the builders that are interested in building on Fractal, and also to learn what they're doing and what's new, and also how we can support. So a bit about Unisat as well. I'm not sure if people, I think a lot of people are not like 100% clear on the connection between Unisat and Fractal. So Unisat, I think a lot of people have heard about it or maybe used our wallet since the early days of BRC20. So like very early last year in maybe March or April. When there was this like really big BRC20 hype that basically broke the network. And I think that's also what that got a lot of people into the Bitcoin ecosystem from like other blockchains. So Unisat was one of the first service providers for like the BRC20, inscription and also wallet. And I think that's how a lot of the community got to know us. And then we've been slowly building out other products, including like marketplaces, and also like of course upgrading our wallets and inscription platform. And also we provide a pretty extensive developer service. We are one of the biggest API service providers in the Bitcoin space. So 95% of the teams use our APIs for free. So that's a pretty big volume right there. And we are kind of just focused on building out the infra for the Bitcoin ecosystem. And most recently, we launched Fractal, which is a Bitcoin native scaling solution. It's built by recursively scaling the Bitcoin core code itself into unlimited layers on top of Bitcoin. It's a pretty innovative approach. I think we can talk more later on, but that's kind of an overview about myself and Unisat and Fractal.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate that. Before we do dive in, for those that are new to the show, we do host an open stage. So if you do have any questions, feel free to really just, hit the request and you come up, or you can post a comment with the purple button in the bottom right-hand corner. Or if you're watching on the live stream, which we do simultaneously stream this, you can ask some questions in the live stream, and we'll go ahead and ask those questions. And Yeah, be sure to share the spaces. I've pinned it to the top so that everyone can come in and hear this conversation. I'd love to start off with Chris. I'd love to get your opinion on, Fractal, or somebody who, mostly hangs out in Solana, but, obviously work at Emblem. What are your first thoughts of the traction that it's got over the past, I guess, 2 weeks since it's launched, and any leading questions for Vivian?
For sure, probably like the biggest launch of the year, or one of the biggest, most hyped launches of the year. So, I mean, what an experience it must be for Vivian to kind of go through that entire segment. It's a lot of controversy between, how it's built, how native it is to Bitcoin. And, obviously you're going to get a pushback from just the corner of laser-eyed maxis, but it's really exciting to see so much innovation happening on Bitcoin, and kind of, push the pendulum back to the proof of work side of things. So I think that this is super exciting. I actually think, just kind of from Vivian's perspective, she spends a lot of time in the ecosystem. Is there anything that kind of sticks out immediately, or something that you've kind of kept your eye on that keeps on getting your attention? Any segments of your guys' ecosystem over there that just kind of keep popping up and kind of catching your interest time after time again?
Yeah, I think definitely one thing that's been popping up a lot recently is the CAT protocol, CAT20. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that.
Of course.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think it's it's it came as a surprise to us, and it's a very pleasant surprise. We didn't think that. We had a particularly short testnet, and even though there's been a lot of discussion about OpCat, clearly it wasn't activated on the Bitcoin mainnet. So there's very few people that know how to actually build with OpCat. And so it's amazing that, that team who built the CAT protocol actually came up with something so fast. And I think it just kind of like took over the ecosystem by storm, basically. And obviously in relation to that, a lot of the the platforms, the tools, the wallets related to CAT protocol began like popping up. So I think that really helped like push us further as well. It really helped us a lot in terms of getting new builders into the ecosystem, people who might have been not so bullish on Fractal, but then they see this thing that's built with like OpCat and it's actually on layer 1. And that really got their attention, and they are like, okay, maybe Fractal is not as bad as I thought it would be. It might be interesting to like build something on Fractal. So I think this is one of the most interesting things that's happening in the past few weeks. And obviously we see like some teams like I think people know like DotSwap, or like other like something that I use is like the EMBRC platform, like inscription platform. So a lot of these platforms that starts, supporting like CAT20 mints, CAT20 inscriptions. And also like we ourselves, Unisat, is also building out some support functions for CAT20, like for example, obviously at first supporting it in our wallet. And recently, we also supported CAT20 in our Explorer, and we hope to also build out maybe some more stuff, like some more infrastructure stuff for CAT20. I think, so I think that's what's been kind of capturing my attention as well. And obviously, like I think apart from CAT20, there is some teams I know that are building interesting stuff with BRC20. I think people know it a lot better than CAT20. Obviously, there's been some teams that have already started thinking about this during the testnet phase, and they are kind of like putting in the work now to fully build it out. And it's really interesting because there's a lot you can do with like recursive inscriptions. You can have like you can inscribe like a full game, like a full Nintendo game, on a recursive inscription, and maybe like build out like a fully decentralized operating system, and you can play the game fully on chain or stuff like that. So we see some like interesting teams doing like interesting cool stuff like that with like inscriptions, recursive inscriptions, BRC20s. Yeah, so I think still like very much focused on these like, you know, building around these new and old asset issuance protocols on Bitcoin.
One question I had is just to give some context, like if you want to give us a little peek behind the curtain, like what's up with Unisat when they were discussing doing this and launching Fractal, how they were kind of viewing it, like, are we going to be an L2? Are we going to be an L1? What was kind of the discussions behind the scenes to actually decide, like, this is the way we're going to go forward? Because I think people are interested, like, why this choice was made. If you can give us some like context of what the thought process was.
Sure, I can give like my version of it because to be very honest, I wasn't part of the conversation right from the beginning because I wasn't part of the team then. But I think what really happened was that first of all, we all know that there is a problem with scalability on the Bitcoin mainnet. We all know that there's a problem with like network congestion, and there's been a lot of, you know, solutions, like whether layer 2s or like side chains or maybe like a smart contract programmability layer on the layer 1. Like there are like various solutions to it that people have been trying out, and each have their own like advantages and disadvantages. And I think for Unisat, the Unisat team, like they experienced it firsthand when the BRC20 broke the network last year in April. And they really realized that, you know, it's much more serious than people think, because you might have this really good protocol, you might have this really good thing that captures people's attention, which is, you know, the most rare thing in Web3, like attention, right? So you might have this really good thing that can bring a lot of people, but if the infrastructure isn't sufficient to support that, then there's nothing you can do except for like sit and just wait for the network to break down. Because literally all they did was just sit there and just, you know, there wasn't anything they could do. Like the indexer wasn't working, the inscription wasn't working, nothing was working. And so I think that made them realize how severe this problem is, and the necessity to like address that. And I think over the next few months, they also look through like the various solutions, and I think there hasn't been one that really satisfied the team, to be honest. And so they were kind of like, okay, so maybe we can build something that is not designed to be entirely separate ecosystem on itself, that is not for, you know, just to launch a new blockchain as a new project and have like a really high valuation and like raise some money, not to, you know, try to get like, you know, like a lot of users, very high TVL, again, maybe for the next round of funding, like not for any of that, but really to address the issue and be as native to the Bitcoin mainnet as possible, so that it is really helping with the scalability of the Bitcoin as a system. So I think, and also like just to point out, I think a lot of people are kind of stuck on the idea like, is it a layer 2, is it a sidechain? And also like, you know, and some people might think that if you want to build like a scaling solution for Bitcoin, it must scale the layer 1 itself. But actually what we think is that you could, you know, like I think the Bitcoin layer 1, if it remains functional as it is, that is already great news to everyone, because it is the most secure network and the most, you know, very simplified, very elegant solution on its own. If you want to really make the whole system scalable, it doesn't have to be directly on the layer 1, but we can do something whereby we are using a very native approach to build basically unlimited layers on top of the layer 1. And so that people, like maybe the most valuable assets can still be on the layer 1, but like more applications, more transactions, more, you know, use cases can be built on those unlimited layers on top of Bitcoin. And it's not like you know, one of those EVM compatible solutions. It's not one of those like so-called Bitcoin layer 2s. It's really as close to the Bitcoin mainnet as possible, but with additional scalability and higher latency and all of that. So that's kind of my take on like what really transpired and what kind of pushed the team to build out Fractal.
Sure. Let's go to Billy had his hand up. Go ahead, Billy. You're muted, Billy, if you're trying to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, can I ask my question now?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, my question is, what are the best plans for people to learn more about your project and join your community? Thank you.
Sure. Sorry, that was a bit quick. That was a bit fast.
He asked,
where's the best platform?
Yeah, where's the best place for people to kind of learn about Fractal and join the community? So if you have a Discord or a Telegram.
Yeah, we do. So let me see if I can. I think I'll just share this in the space. And
Sure.
so, yeah, so it is just actually a tweet from our official Twitter account. And I think that's really the best place to learn about Fractal because we've kept it really clean. Like we've kept the timeline really clean for the purpose of like education and like easy, navigation so that it's not like populated by like random retweets or like co-marking stuff, but it's really focused on every single infrastructure update that we've made and also like educational materials and also user guides and things like that. So I would say like the Twitter is definitely the best place to learn more about us and follow us. And if you click to the link 3, it will include a link to the Telegram group. So that's our official Telegram group. That's where you can get, I would say, the fastest response to like any questions and also talk to the community.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you. More support.
So Vivian,
Thank you.
Vivian, I'd love to hear about kind of some of the chaos that's been going on over the last 2 weeks. As you mentioned at the top of the show, a lot of these builders hadn't really reached out to Unisat and kind of just been deploying on the go. Right, Fractal launched, and then there was a protocol, I believe it was called Flux, launched immediately before BRC20 was activated, and then Cat20 was activated, and then you had BRC20. So essentially, there's 3, fungible token standards that was deployed on Fractal by the time that BRC20 had been activated. It does seem like Cat20 has caught most of the attention on Fractal, and that's where a lot of the users are directing, their capital. What was it like for the Fractal team on the back end to basically divert attention and begin to understand first what Cat20 is and then try to implement it on the back end, while still trying to maintain the attention of the community and that it doesn't leave the platform?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and really interesting to ask it as well. A lot of people just ask like, what do you think is the positioning of like Cat20? Should people like focus it more? Is it an alpha or something? But yeah, thank you for that question. Honestly, I think first of all, we were never trying to make sure that the attention always remains on us. And I think to be very, very honest, the hype initially was much higher than we expected or think we could handle, because we know that it's definitely not a bad thing to have the community excited about your project. But the thing is, when it gets like too much hype, too much FOMO in one go, and like people have really high expectations from you right off the bat, but that this is just so early, like we just launched, and there are definitely going to be issues. And when people have like extremely high expectations, and they're really FOMO about like the token price, for example. Initially, the I think FB went up to like about 38, close to $40. That was definitely unexpected. And so when people have that, when it hit that, people are going to have like a level of expectations for the token price and for the things that you do. And when they realize that you're not going to meet those expectations, that quickly turns to FUD. So I think for us, we've always, if you know the Unisat team, I think you'd be probably familiar with our approach of like always taking things very steady and slow and almost very, very conservative, you can say. So a lot of people might say that it's a more like Chinese or Asian approach, but I think it's worked out very well for us because we are just always focused on, developing the product and shipping as we promised. and we're less focused on whether the attention is still on us or our people are still as excited. So I think that's part of the answer. And I would say, in terms of like, you know, managing like the existing things that we have to ship and then like the new stuff, it's, yeah, I think it's definitely a lot of work on our development team. Like, kudos to them for handling all of that. And I think that so BRC20 was, you know, the when it's going to be activated on Fractal, when are we going to you know, push out like the infrastructure support for BRC20? That's already been pre-planned a long time ago. It's part of our roadmap, and so there's like no worries about that. But you know, when something new comes along, then like the team has to research on that as well and like look into it. And I think, as you know, if you are a developer or if you've, you know, been a builder in the space, you definitely know that like nothing works out, you know, perfectly as the way you want to. Like, even if you have the most perfect roadmap, it's not going to work out 100% the way that you envisioned. And so there's definitely going to be changes. It's a very reiterative process, especially with product development. You never know what kind of obstacles you're going to face, like some sudden challenge just like pops up and things don't go as you plan. And so we are very sure, like we are very certain about sticking to the timeline for delivery for BRC20, which is something that we've promised. And for like the new stuff, Cat20, we did look into it, but I think we are like, we have the mindset that, you know, like obviously the team who is capable of building this out is able to build other infrastructure support for this. And there are a lot of capable teams in the ecosystem who can build, you know, tools, platforms, wallets for Cat20. So let's just focus on, you know, BRC20 and delivering that. If we have any spare effort, we can definitely, you know, look into supporting Cat20 in our Explorer, in our wallet, so to make like the user experience better and onboarding easier. But it's not our priority. We can always, you know, trust the teams that are already building our Fractal to do all of that. And our focus has always been just, you know, building the infrastructure stuff. Like, we want to leave the applications, you know, the money making stuff to the other teams, because like if you're the, you know, the ecosystem team and you end up building everything, like you make all of the money. There's no point, right, of like launching a blockchain. You know, so like the purpose of like launching infrastructure is so that it has like some like use case for applications and for users, and you need good builders to build on your blockchain. And so it doesn't make sense for us to like start, you know, building out all of these applications for Cat20. So I think in the future as well, if something new comes up, I think our mindset will always be that we leave it to more capable teams in the space to build it out. We don't want to be like the competition for them. We are just focused on, you know, the infrastructure support.
Yeah, I mean, that makes complete sense. We've gone through this very similar thing from the Emblem perspective, that, you know, you have a roadmap and a direction and something else pops up and you have to evaluate it to understand if it's worthwhile, will the attention hold, and how to redirect the sources. I mean, we do have, right, Fleur.gg, who's been building for some Cat20. I've seen some other Fractal applications beginning to pop up. This just, you know, this just leaves opportunity in the builder's hands, that if you want to go out and capture the attention and capture some capital and market share, then, you know, building on Cat20 is probably the route you want to go, because the Fractal team has a roadmap. In terms of, you know, some recent attention, and I've seen some you know, varying opinions on this. Yesterday, you guys launched Pizza Swap, which was previously called Fractal Swap, and I saw some people were upset about the decision that you can't withdraw any type of assets. Some other people were excited because it shows, you know, that there's going to be a Uniswap type DEX on Fractal. Could you just, again, maybe similar kind of proposition as the last question, launching Pizza Swap on Fractal, what was that like for the team? And then the decision to launch it in maybe a state that isn't fully completed?
Yeah, we saw a lot of that as well, and we actually have a lot of discussions about it. Like, we were all like looking at Twitter, looking at our groups to see like what the user feedback is, and then we know like what are the things that we have to address immediately. I think it's really good that like the community has some expectations for the things that Unisat is going to deliver, and it's perfectly okay that like if we didn't live up to those expectations, then they are gonna voice their opinions, and actually that's really useful feedback for us. So like some of the feedback that we got are like it's a very complex process. Yeah, it's a pretty high barrier, to be honest. Requires like quite a lot of steps to be able to use it. You have to like cross chains first, and then like do the deposit, and then there's like the withdrawal. And honestly, the cross chain takes too long. It's like at least an hour. And there's it didn't support a lot of the assets. Like firstly, it didn't have Fractal Bitcoin, and it didn't have Pizza. It didn't have a lot of the other assets. And of course, there's the issue with like after you cross chain, the asset that's on Fractal has to be issued in some form of BRC20. But like for each bridge that you use, you kind of like, for example, if you were like bridging sets, right? There are like different forms of sets on the BRC20, because like Bridge, they have their version of the bridged sets, which is B sets, and then Pizza Swap would also have a version of the bridge sets, which is S sets, and so that actually fragments the liquidity. So like there's a lot of feedback, and we definitely like we collect them, we listen to them, and like we take them seriously. It's not like we just launch something and we don't really care what the community thinks. And these are things that we are definitely gonna have solutions for each of them. We are gonna slowly like push that out, but I think we also hope that the community can understand that it takes time for these things to happen. And I think some of you might think that this is a slightly less complete version, but I think for us we want to push out a version that is maybe like the most basic version first, but it's at least usable to a degree, and then we can like start improving the features, we can like start improving the experience, the process, and slowly build it out better, instead of like thinking that we can complete all the features and like just launch it in one go. But under like the time pressure, it might be a really bad version of it, and it might be a really bad implementation of it. And once we launch, there's like a lot of problems, like maybe the bridge is stuck, and like there's a lot of things that's unusable. So there's then that kind of voids everything, right? Because even though you've launched like kind of this perfect version of like the Pizza Swap, but it's there's like it's not tested out enough. It's not we didn't take enough time to like build it out and stuff. So there's going to be a lot of issues. So we prefer to actually maybe just do the most basic version first, and then we can continuously upgrade and add new features to it, rather than like throw a whole bunch of stuff out in one go. But there might be a lot of problems with it. So that's kind of our approach, and how we think why we decided to launch Pizza Swap as it is. And there's going to be a lot of updates coming. So firstly, it's definitely going to support more assets with like Pizza, FB, those things that we're going to do it pretty soon. And then obviously our own simple bridge is coming. And I think a lot of it is not because like Pizza Swap, we can't do it with Pizza Swap. It's because there are some delays with the bridge. And that's why you need the bridge to happen first before the swap can happen. And so once the bridge works out, we launch that, and then a lot more assets can be supported on the Pizza Swap. And also like the issue with like withdrawals, because with like BRC20, we have to work with like all the indexer service providers. So it's not just up to us. And so we would have to coordinate with all our partners to make sure that things work out from their end as well, because otherwise the withdrawal wouldn't work. And so those are also a lot of like factors that we can't control involved. And so OKX is one of our main partners in that aspect, and we've also posted about why the withdrawal was delayed, and we have to kind of work with them to make sure that the indexer works out okay, and then we can start the withdrawals. So a lot of things to work out, and
tech is really it's really hard, right? There's a lot. I mean, I hear like 5 things, and I'm like, wow, each one of those is like a massive lift. So the bridging, just so I'm understanding, because just think of it as I'm the smooth brain. Okay, so what you're bridging is you're taking BRC20s that are on Bitcoin, you're trying to bring those over, right? Is that through just basically like a multi-sig system? Is that the bridge you're building out?
Yeah, the simple bridge will be a multi-sig.
Okay. And so people would want to move those because on Pizza Swap, they're going to have access to basically liquidity pools, instant buying and selling. Is that the value proposition of bridging over the BRC20s?
Yeah. And also with more applications on Fractal, hopefully in the future.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was actually a little confused that pizza wasn't listed on a Pizza Swap, but I do understand, going through the conversation, that there's a lot of technical barriers here, specifically with multiple indexers. I saw that OKX Wallet was involved with. Somebody in the live stream said this is Pizzagate. It's Pizzagate. It's not like OKX was involved from the wallet side and the offloading, and then you have multiple bridges. And we actually run a similar model from the Emblem side. It's like a public beta where you say, hey, we're going to launch it in a certain state, and then we're going to continue to iterate and build on it as we go, but it will not be perfect from the launch. So do completely understand it there. Look, thinking at it, just one more kind of thought here on Pizza Swap here. Pizza Swap supports BRC20s, and you're essentially wrapping these BRC20s, right? And that's where you have S ordi and B ordi, and then there's going to be, assuming, a few other ones. Does this conflict at all with like the native BRC20s, which are called FBRC20? See how this could be like kind of a little bit confusing, and especially with all these different wrapped versions of it. How does Unisat plan to, ensure that this is a, frictionless user experience, and that everyone kind of understands what's going on here with all these different kind of versions of BRC20? And then do we expect the runes version to be in a similar process on Pizza Swap?
I'm not sure what is the FBRC20. Is it a term for
I think that's
on Fractal?
Yeah, that's just the BRC20 on Fractal. Is this? I've seen different, I guess different people trying to explain it. Some people are calling BRC20 that's minted on Fractal as FBRC20, and then others are saying it's just general BRC20 because it's an indexer that controls, the state and the balance of all of that. So I mean, maybe if you even have a better explanation for it, is BRC20 on Fractal the same BRC20 as the ones that are, I guess, inscribed on Bitcoin itself?
Yeah, so I would say that it's the same protocol and the same type of assets. It's just that on Fractal, we only support BRC20s with so like like there's a word, what do you call that, like a word limit with like character limit with the ticker.
Yep.
Yeah. So on Fractal, it's 6 and above, and so that's a differentiation between Fractal and mainnet, because mainnet is maximum is 5, and so that's why I think you see that, like, for example, with SAS and ordi, obviously they are like 4 letters. So on Fractal, they would have to be a different BRC20 asset with like maybe S, SAS, and dash has to be deployed to kind of fulfill the 6 ticker requirement. And so that's kind of how it works. And with each bridge, I think our policy is that whoever is the bridge service provider, you are responsible for the assets you deploy. So like, for example, if Boo says, okay, we want to support bridging of Ordi now, and we deployed this a B Ordi dash whatever on Fractal, and that will be the bridged version of Ordi on Fractal, then you're responsible for, you know, the safety of the bridge and for that asset. So that's kind of how it works. I hope that explains the question.
Yeah, you know, I think it fairly does. So basically just a differentiation is that BRC20, whether it's on Fractal or Bitcoin mainnet, it's essentially the same protocol because it shares the same indexer. Just on Fractal, it's 6 tickers or longer. And then on Bitcoin, you have the legacy BRC20, which is 4 tickers, and then like Pizza, that is 5 tickers. And then you know, extending it to runes. I know the activation block I think is 84,000, I believe, or 840,000. One of those two. Could you just give us a glimpse into how that's going to work, and will these runes and wrapped runes be traded on Pizza Swap?
Yeah, so it's gonna be integrated on Pizza Swap. So I think right now it's estimated to be activated on the 7th. So this week, sorry, next week. Wait, it's 7th. Okay, yeah, whatever. 7th of October. It's the rough date for the activation. And yeah, it's gonna be integrated in Pizza Swap. And we are probably going to support at least in the beginning the swap between runes and FB. So that might be around the same time. But yeah, but like I think initially it's going to be a little, you know, it's going to be similar to like Pizza Swap BRC20. A few of the assets are going to be supported, and then gradually we will add on more. It's not going to be everything in one go. So, and that takes a process. We have to make sure, you know, it's activated and it's okay, everything runs smoothly, and then integration into Pizza Swap. Well, so that's kind of how it works.
To Jake's point, like I'm actually confused right now. Are the runes the Fractal runes, or are they runes from Bitcoin, right? It's like, you know, if I was going to name it, I'd say everything that lives natively on Bitcoin, you know, but you're also going to have on Fractal, you'd automatically call everything F runes or, you know, FPLC20s, because it's very confusing if your kind of value proposition is to bring over assets from Bitcoin, right, onto Fractal and have this like seamless trading on Fractal. If you're just calling the Fractal runes, it's going to get really, does that make sense to you? Like how confusing that could be for like an end user?
Yeah, I get it. Maybe we need to, maybe like F runes is a good way of like maybe like adding F is a good way.
Jake, let's get the website right now. That's a great name.
F runes. Yeah, runes. Runes doesn't sound so bad. I mean, BRC20 is a bit weird, but like I think everyone gets it. I guess it's possible if we add like the F in front of the F in front of the you know, like runes BRC20 to denominate that this is runes on Fractal. But yeah, just to clear any confusion, so it's the same protocol. It's exactly the same protocol as it is on Bitcoin Layer 1, and you know, like, so the asset is the same. It's just that if you want to bridge assets from Layer 1 over to Fractal, it's gonna, you know, have to be deployed as a new asset on the runes protocol on Fractal. Yeah, so, but when you bring it back, it's the same asset. So yeah, so that's how it's gonna be. But so I can't exactly share like how it's gonna work out, but you know, I think it will be similar to BRC20 in a sense that we will have some kind of differentiation from like the runes on Layer 1. So you can kind of tell that which ones are like the runes that are natively inscribed, like natively minted on Fractal, and which are the ones that are bridged over.
Got it. Yeah, I completely understand. I know it's a little confusing, but it will get smoothed out. Moving, I guess outwards, and you know, kind of looking at this from you know, bird's eye view. The next thing that's being built on Unisat is, you know, what's called the application layer. All these different marketplaces and protocols and games and etc. that that individuals are coming to on Fractal and saying, hey, this is where I want to set up shop. What are you seeing from the application layer in terms of, is there any type of, I guess, sector or anything that's common across the application layer that you're seeing be built, or any type of companies or teams that are approaching, the Fractal team in Unisat saying, hey, I want to build on Fractal because XYZ reasons?
Yeah. So I would say we didn't really do like analysis of all the projects that are kind of recorded or talking to us. But I can say, like, maybe, for example, based on just the grant applications, I can see that there are a few types. So, like, number one, there is, I would say, quite a number of newer teams are kind of building these just what we call consumer NFT categories. Like, basically, they're just launching an NFT collection on Fractal, or they've already launched it, and they might want to build it out to some kind of maybe NFT launchpad, or like I don't know, like marketplace or something. But mostly it just starts out as an NFT collection. And I think that's because it's a great way to build the community, first of all, and secondly, it is a bit of a lower barrier to entry for a lot of these teams who are new to Bitcoin and to Fractal, because like, it's not easy to build on a Bitcoin native chain. Like, a lot of people are not familiar with the programming language, and one of the questions that we get a lot is, are you EVM compatible? So, and once they realize that we're not, then like, they're like, okay, so yeah, this might take a while. We're gonna have so we're like, I'm like, so you should definitely think about this carefully and not just come to Fractal because you think there is some hype around it now and you might get some marketing support or whatever. It doesn't work that way. I think you definitely need to look at like your project timeline and what works out best for you, because there is going to be a lot of work needed for the integration. So that's kind of what we see. And I think secondly, we definitely see a lot of DeFi want to be on Fractal. So like DEXs, be it like DEXs or derivatives. But the thing is, I think so far we haven't seen anything that really catches our eye. It's mainly stable coins, or maybe like a perp DEX, AMM DEX that's already integrated to a lot of other blockchains, and now they want to integrate on Fractal, and which is a great thing. But I think there hasn't been a lot of innovations in that aspect, and we hope to see some, because I think with like OpCat, it's possible for a lot of like, and also because of the much faster block confirmation time and much cheaper gas fees, there's a lot of possibility here that teams can innovate on. So those things we like to see. And interestingly, there is a lot of like gaming applications, which also quite aligns with our vision for it as well. I think gaming is a vertical that we really like, especially like Lorenzo. If some of you know, he used to be a game developer, so he's like really interested in intersection between blockchain and gaming. Not to suggest that this is a good way to get a grant or anything, but like, it's just to say that we think, because given like there could be a lot could be done with like inscriptions, recursive inscriptions, and like gaming, and like for example, you could, like I said in the beginning, like I've seen teams who like inscribe these like games and like make fully decentralized OS and think of like very interesting ways to like kind of have these like little inscription games inside the OS, and hopefully they turn it into like some serviceable platform or something. And also we have a gaming framework. I think a lot of projects actually saw that, and so they were like, wait, how can we work with a unified gaming framework, where maybe we create some kind of like maybe we bring out creation engine or 3D gaming UGC creation engine into Fractal, so like users can create a lot of content, and that gets inscribed immediately into like BRC20 or ordinals NFTs through the Unisat API. And, you know, a lot of interesting things can happen there because it gets confirmed really fast. You don't have to wait for like 30 minutes for the inscription to be confirmed. It gets confirmed in like maybe around 20 seconds. So, you know, a lot of things that couldn't really be done on layer 1 can now be done on Fractal. So yeah, so quite a few like interesting tracks that we see from the grant applications.
Yeah, it's interesting as Adam and I and Chris, as we host different L2s and scaling layers that are tangentially related to Bitcoin. We noticed that the ones that have the highest TPS generally attract a lot of gaming applications. Seems to be a lot more suitable there. So I'd be excited to see what kind of new and novel protocols and teams migrate over to Fractal. I think that's generally what the key differentiator is having that type of diversity that is unique to just the layer itself. 1 and 2 out. Thanks for being patient. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. Thanks for letting me up. But hopefully it just wasn't just answered. But I considering other layer 1s, layer 2s, or side layers, or whatever you want to call them, they advertise taking your tokens over there. So I was just wondering, what could some of the use cases I hear that they can, since it's going to be faster, what will be the use cases for these other tokens? And pizza swap, what do you speculate could be the use case for that?
I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm not sure I get the question. Are we talking about bridging Fractal assets to other layer 1s?
Yeah, no, I'm saying bridging layer 1 to Fractal. Why will we be incentivized to move our tokens over there besides faster liquidity, or faster trading, I should say? Why would we move our BRC20s to Fractal?
Yeah, I think apart from like the overall experience, faster and also much cheaper, and it's going to be a lot cheaper for a while because of how cheap Fractal Bitcoin is, and with FB as the gas token, it's going to be significantly cheaper than Bitcoin for a very, very long time. I would say definitely like what users or if when I think about why would I want to go to like a layer 2 or sidechain and bridge my assets there, I'm definitely thinking about what use case. Like what it could be fun, it could be a money-making application. Whatever it is, it has to be some kind of useful use case for me. So I think a lot your question kind of depends on the applications that gets built out on Fractal. And I think a lot of those is what we're seeing now around new innovative kind of maybe liquidity solution protocols, or like new kind of launch pads for like recursive inscriptions, BRC20s and runes, and also maybe like new kinds of AMM dexes for runes, or even like across protocols, like maybe runes to BRC20, BRC20 to runes. So those kind of things are, I think, reasons that people might wanna bridge to Fractal, because these things might, these kind of applications might simply not be possible on layer 1 because of the long confirmation time, because of the lack of block space. There's just not enough place to run such a large script, and it's very, very expensive, both for the builder and the user. So I think, so hopefully I think Fractal can be a place for the applications that people want on Bitcoin layer 1 but can't really build out on Bitcoin layer 1, and hopefully that brings a lot of users to do stuff on both layer 1 and also experience other stuff on Fractal.
Is there any, to kind of layer on what one and 2 was saying there, is there any sort of like incentive beyond that for people to bring over assets like with what Merlin did, where if I bring over my BRC20s, I'm going to get some sort of airdrop or points program or anything? Is there anything like that for the user?
Oh man, you could have just asked that. I was like thinking for this questions about. No, it's a good question though. But yeah, I think, I don't know, is there some kind of pizza swap points? I haven't really heard about that, and I don't know, it there might be. Maybe I know that some people, they use the BRC20 swap, or they test it out on layer 1 just to get the Unisat points. And we do, you know, like actually reward people for that. For example, the pizza airdrop. You know, even though it's, you know, completely like it's a completely community thing right now, like we don't drive the prices or anything, but I think it was a good airdrop. A lot of people, you know, made like quite a bit from it. So yeah, so like those things might be possible. In terms of any kind of like incentive with Fractal Bitcoin, at the moment, no, there is no like something similar to the mainnet bootstrap program with OKX, where we give a bit of FB to eligible users. Like currently we don't have that for Pizza Swap, but it might be possible because we do have a bit of the FB allocated for community grants. So it might be possible to use that for like maybe liquidity and partnerships like we did with OKX. So maybe we could, you know, think of something to do with another partner or something about Pizza Swap. And then we would, you know, give FB as some kind of incentive for using the Pizza Swap. Yeah, but that's into the future.
Let's be honest. The reason why people bridge is because they're looking for liquidity on the other side, or they want to speculate. That's like the primary two motivators. And then later in a mature ecosystem, they'll use it for some sort of utility or use case. But that comes much, much later. In the very, very early stages, you're just going there to make money. Let's be honest. You know, I have maybe one or two questions, and then if there's anybody else who wants to come on stage, you can ask, or I'll pass it over to Adam and Chris. One of the things that was in your guys' tokenomics, there was a segment for a grants program, which I noticed that Fractal Bitcoin has opened as well. Could you explain to us what the process is, what type of applicants you guys have received, and just, you know, the overall framework of it for anybody, you know, maybe even us on stage who wants to apply for it, or anybody in the crowd or who's listening later?
Yeah, so we do have the grant. So it's a season 1 grant going on right now. It's actually, we're taking in applications. It's going to close on the 9th of October. And it's quite simple. Well, it's both simple and not simple, because it's simple because you only have to fill in an application form and that's it. Like we won't ask you to go through a very tedious process. But there are quite a number of questions on the application form. And we hope that builders take time to answer that seriously, because the way we designed that is honestly because like there are, you know, like a lot of teams might build something, but then they never reach out to us. And like a lot of teams might talk to one of us, or, you know, a few of us. And like it's hard to kind of, and it's also not fair to teams to just evaluate, you know, their work and whether they're eligible for the grant just based on my experience with Emblem, for example. You know, I talked to you and I think you guys are really great, you should definitely get a grant. But like, you know, it's not fair to the other teams who maybe didn't talk to us, or maybe talk to other members of the team. And so the application form really is just our way of making the process as fair as possible, so that we get the same answers for everyone. We ask the same questions, we get the same answers, and we put that all on a single sheet, and we look at them. So that's the process. It's quite simple, and there's a committee looking at it, and also it's not just people within Fractal. We also enlisted the help of experienced builders from outside of Fractal. Like their opinion is also, you know, really important. Also to make sure that we're not too biased to the things that we think would work well on Fractal. So there's a committee that's reviewing that. And after we close the applications, I think we will probably announce between mid to late October the results for this round. And just one really important point, it's retroactive. So the meaning of that is you need to actually have built something on Fractal instead of just talking about your idea in the application form, and think that, you know, like we see that sometimes, like also a lot of teams that we know, like our friends, they would apply and we would just be like, no, bro, this would not work because like we know you well, like the community knows you well, but it doesn't mean that, you know, like you can just fill out an application form and expect that, you know, the treasury is going to be used that way, because it wouldn't be fair to other teams. And so the way we look at it, you definitely need to have deployed something on the Fractal mainnet in order to be considered, because then it's only fair to the other people who have been really working to deploy stuff on Fractal. And we look at, you know, we value actual contribution to like over, you know, much over big narratives or just ideas. Yeah.
Awesome. Really appreciate you for going and explaining all of that. Glizillionaire, welcome to the stage. You got a question?
Yeah, I got a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah.
All right. You know, it's me, ex-CEO. Remember, man? You know, they took out my account, man. This is my new one. You know, Jack is my buddy from long times. So I just want to say about, you know, what Unisat is doing. First of all, I just want to say, you know, you guys, thank you for the airdrop. You know, a lot of us were using your Unisat, and I think I got something like 50 Fractal. And I've just been playing around with the system, you know, with the new Fractal assets that are popping up. I'm not shilling anything here, but, you know, I've been like, I'm a fan of some of the arts, like the frogs that are coming on, the monks, you know, like there's a whole bunch of stuff that's coming up. I'm a big fan of Gleezy and Mooncats and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, just playing with the system. The other day I was playing with my 7-year-old, you know, he was a little sick, so he was at home. And it's even fun for a 7-year-old to play on Fractal and just like, hey, I have this idea. Let's inscribe this BRC20. Yeah, let's call it. You know, he was sitting with football cards or doing all this football stuff, you know, and it was a fun thing for me to do as a parent with my 7-year-old son. You know what I mean? To do on Fractal, you know, because it's not that. Like, you know, you don't have to wait for hours or whatever, you know, you can see like within some seconds, like, yeah, it's confirmed, we got it. Okay, you know, and stuff like that. So my question is, this was just a thank you to Unisat. My question being, we have this you know, this deployables marketplace on the layer 1, you know, where you can sell a deployable, like a ticker, right? Is that kind of marketplace coming to Fractal? That's my question for BRC20 deployables. Thank you very much.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for the support. Yeah, just to clarify, the marketplace on layer 1's for BRC20, right?
Yeah, for the deployables, you know, like for instance, let's say I deploy a ticker called Jake Sats or whatever, you know, or F rooms. I just deployed that, by the way, because I thought it was a cool ticker. But I'm thinking, you know, maybe I sorry to say it, but I'm listening.
Bro.
Yeah, man, I'm a DJ, man. So, you know, anything you say, man, can be used against you on the blockchain. So, so my question, just to clarify, you know, is the BRC20 deployables marketplace. I mean, it's a bit of an infant marketplace on L1 right now, you know, where you can buy a whole ticker, you know, and then you can decide what to do with it later on. Because I'm thinking 5 years ahead, you know, who knows? Maybe somebody wants to build their community. You know, this tech could be really, you know, like so much advanced, maybe even in 12 months, you know. Like, I don't want to build on it, but maybe I could list it for sale, the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Because is there a marketplace like that coming for BRC20s on Fractal, similar to what we have on L1 for BRC20 deployables? You know, the ones that you self-mint to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Not self-mint, but, you know, like, you know, not open to the public mint. It's self-issuance. Thank you very much. Exactly. Is that marketplace coming to Fractal? That's my question.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. I mean, I guess, I don't know, maybe one use case could be that, like, use it as domain names or something. I don't know, because there's just only one, right? It's self-issued. So, I mean, it's not to say that it's only one, but, like, it's not open for public mint. And so, I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
but, you know, if I don't mint it, for instance, if I
Just
deploy a ticker right now, like F runes, if you check on your system and you put in F runes on BRC20s, you will see that I have not minted it. I've merely deployed it. So meaning the one with the deployable can mint it, right? So if I sell that deployable, whoever gets it can then decide, okay, I'm going to mint it and airdrop it. So that comes to my second question. So the first question is, will there be a marketplace supported similar to what you have? If you go on L1 right now on Unisat wallet, you will see that on BRC20's 5byte, you have a marketplace. It didn't pump as much because that marketplace was put in place just when runes was pumping. So everybody was talking about runes, at that time. But that marketplace is still on L1, and I'm thinking this could be actually much more efficient on L2. So my second question, sorry to add to that, is okay. Let's just take that one first. I don't want to confuse you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get you. Yeah, sorry, I was a bit stuck on that idea, but yeah, I totally get you. That could be interesting. Basically, it's like you see this could potentially be useful for some project or maybe like someone else to like open it to mint later on. And then you just kind of trade that. Like you trade the unminted self-issuance.
The idea being, yeah, so, exactly. But now second point, just to add, because it's all linked.
Yeah.
Doing an airdrop on L1 is so expensive. We saw it even with runes, right? We saw some of the rune stickers. The guys ended up asking for money from the community, right, to get it going. And some never actually happened. But on Fractal, it's possibly cheaper because, I've been trying to airdrop a couple of stuff and you can actually do it relatively, I think, cheaply. So will you have a kind of facility where those deployables, I could decide F runes, everybody who was in this space, I'm going to airdrop them, these F runes, you know what I'm saying? Because I think it's a fun way to just do a genuine, free and fair airdrop without anyone botting it or anyone being, front run. You know what I'm saying? Are you going to support this kind of thing where we can do a mass airdrop of a token to say maybe community members, holders of Fractal Monks, or even holders of like monks on L1, you know what I'm saying? Because it's the same wallets anyway. Are you going to support that?
I think, okay, firstly, like, thank you for the ideas. Honestly, both are quite, first one is very interesting. I've never heard of that before. Second one can be very useful for builders or, projects. I think it wasn't a priority. Like the second one, I think we did maybe talk about it at one point, but it wasn't a priority because like, it's not user focused in a way. So meaning that, like the people who might use it are project founders or builders, and there's not that many users who would need to do it. Like most of us just inscribe and mint. And so it's definitely useful, but it's just that just to explain why it wasn't wasn't a feature on Unisat. And yeah, I think definitely we can look into doing both. If there's a way.
Let's do an experiment. F runes was in this chat. And listen, I want to experiment with F runes. I'll give it to Unisat if I have to, as long as it's airdrop to everyone in this chat. You get what I'm saying? Let's do an airdrop, like of a Unisat Fractal BRC20. Like the real airdrop using some of the tech that you guys are building. I'm willing to hand it over to you guys. I don't have a problem with that. You know what I mean? As long as every DJ in this chat gets it, right?
No, yeah, I get you. That's really interesting. Yeah, we will definitely look into that. And if we do build something, we'll let everyone know. I think both are really interesting. And yeah, it's I think it's a great way for community building. Like maybe just, oh, hey, we were talking about this, and then like I just inscribe the sticker, and now let's airdrop everyone in the space. That would be really, really cool.
Cool. Appreciate it, Glazillionaire.
Let's do it. Give me a follow, let's do it. I'll give you the ticker, I don't care, but I want this to be done. And Jake, you're my witness, you're my homie, from long times. Let's push this and make it a fun thing and see like, hey, if we put F runes and do an airdrop, whatever happens in aftermarket, I don't care. I'm just like, can we do a mass airdrop and then give that same functionality to the DGens to do mass airdrops on Fractal? That's all, man. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And if we do, actually come up with this feature, please do an airdrop. You don't have to give it to us, but do more, inscribe more interesting tickers and like airdrop to the community.
I have more than maybe almost 400 at this point. All the ideas have been like, degenning on it. So maybe people are sleeping right now. By the way, shout out to my homie Block, who's, who came up with the ticket, Glizzy. We love our Glizzy, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's all.
Nice.
Everyone's getting some airdrops. We do have one more person on stage. In Urasha, did you have a question for Vivian?
Good morning. Yes. So I've been following Fractal a little bit, and I read the white paper, or the light paper. I'm mostly interested or curious about what's your Fractal is a sort of quote unquote layer 2 on Bitcoin, but what's your sort of plans to sort of scale the layer ones and the bridging and stuff like that with layer 1 assets? Or is your focus mainly on sort of building your own layer 2 ecosystem and sort of just using the layer 1 as a roll up? Because I think a part of the white paper was talking about how you guys have thought of ways to sort of scale scale assets from layer 1 and turn them into more performant, more bandwidth for the layer 1 assets. Is that still kind of in the roadmap, in the plan, or what are you guys trying to do with that? I'm curious about that one.
Yeah. And thanks for going through the white paper. I don't think enough people do that, but yeah. So regarding this, I'll answer the second part first. I think talking about the unlimited layers on top of, so basically the scaling solution that we do it by not just creating a single blockchain, but it's actually, you can think of it as a blockchain formed by a lot of layers that can run somewhat simultaneously, and each layer can be its own kind of dApp chain, if that makes sense. So it can be a dApp specific or function specific layer. So it might be that this, for this kind of game, or maybe for one game you can have a layer. So I think it will make more sense once we open up the channel, once we start creating more layers, and once we open up the channel for people to issue their own instances. So we call the layer instances. It might make more sense then. But right now, just because we're talking theoretically, it might be hard to get. And basically, that's our scaling solution. And what's innovative about it is not just the unlimited layers, but also we have this, you can think of it as a block space load balancer, whereby we can basically, it's like, if you think about it as multiple highways, we can basically divert the traffic between the highways so that, there is no congestion on a single layer. So theoretically speaking, that's how it works. It will make a lot more sense. I haven't seen it myself as well. It will make a lot more sense once, people can start deploying these instances or layers. But that's kind of what we envisioned it to be. And to answer the first part, it's definitely the former, whereby we are trying to help, or in a way to enhance the layer 1 or the mainnet ecosystem. We are not trying to create our own ecosystem and just trying to start our own thing and a separate ecosystem. We are actually hoping to support the layer 1 ecosystem, the miners, the users, with more incentives, more use cases, more liquidity, better experience overall, and cheaper. So yeah. So just to answer the first part.
Sorry, but will for example, node monkeys or Bitcoin puppets and stuff be able to be bridged to Fractal and then traded on Fractal? Back and forth?
Once the bridges, I don't know which service provider is going to do it first, but one of them is going to support the bridging of ordinals like they do for BRC20 and runes.
Nice. We have Fleur.gg on stage, and I wanted to them to be able to talk for a minute about what they're building on Fractal. You there, Fleur?
Hey guys, hey Adam, how you doing?
How's it
That's
going,
good,
man?
Randy.
What's up?
Yeah.
So tell us what you got going on.
Yeah, so we built the Cat 20 Minter, and that was really just an experiment with looking at Fractal Bitcoin and at the Cat protocol. I mean, I think we looked at this as an opportunity because Cat isn't really blockchain specific. It will work on whatever chain enables OpCat. So we didn't really have to. It was nice, we can experiment with this new technology that's capable of doing much more with much less code and indexing involved. So as like a token protocol and as a minting protocol, and it can do a lot more. It's very programmable, smart contract capable protocol. So we get to do like any kind of experiment that we want. And we don't have to be all in on the success of any specific blockchain. So it was, Fractal obviously was like a really great starting place, but we're extremely bullish on the Cat protocol. And so far we have all the Cat 20 tokens indexed and mintable. We just added transfer, which was a big request and is necessary for building any kind of marketplace. So we're making progress.
Tell me how, like I've heard this, like Cat 20 is going to be interoperable between any kind of UTXO chain, but like technically, how does that work? Like, how's that possible?
So in a lot of ways, so if you enable OpCat, you have just like compatibility. Whatever data is like in that script, you can just port it over to any chain that has it.
So give us an example. So the Cat 20s are all being minted right now on Fractal.
Yeah, so they would just be on. They would already be on Bitcoin, like as soon as it enables OpCat, basically.
So as soon as OpCat is enabled on Bitcoin, all of those tokens and the ownership of those tokens, whoever owns them on Fractal,
it's available.
It's available and owned by the people who already own it on Fractal.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Concatenation is just it's literally just pairing two different things together. So from my understanding, right, if you have Cat 20 on Bells and on Fractal, if you call it FBRC 20, then it kind of just pairs the two prefixes together. But you still have to build an application on top of it, though. There's
a lot to it. There's a lot less risk. These aren't JSON inscriptions or indexer necessary token protocols. So like it's all like miner validated basically. So you don't really have to be right, and you don't have to have a centralized indexer on top of the chain like you do with ordinals or BRC20 and runes. So if the indexer isn't 100% or you're not caught up with the indexer or whatever, there's a piece of JSON that's in your indexer, but it's not in the consensus indexers, and somebody buys it, they're not buying a fake token. You can't, like, there's no way to buy a fake token the way that you can on runes or BRC20 on Cat. So like there's way less risk from the perspective of developers, and there's way more programmability. So it's a very, very interesting thing, and it scales across chains. So if a new chain comes out with OpCat and it's UTXO, SHA-256, whatever based situations, we can just add it, and it's compatible. So yeah.
Yeah, super, super cool.
You like the miner validated part of it just means that you can't, if you go to pay for a PSBT and you don't get it, you don't lose your money, you get your money back.
I got one final note here, and then we'll wrap it up here to be respectful of Vivian's time. Going back to Inuyasha's comment about taking node monkeys and ordinals to Fractal. This is something Emblem can actually do with our 2.0 system being implemented. We will have it here on Bitcoin, hopefully by the end of the year, and then it can apply it over to Fractal. So you could take any Bitcoin asset, whether it's a stamp or an ordinal or a counterparty asset or whatever it is over there. So we've actually applied to the Fractal grants program. So whether we're in it or not, I think the goal would be to help bridge all those NFTs over there in a frictionless way. We will wrap it up here. Vivian, I do appreciate you for coming on. Do you have any final comments or any final notes you'd like to leave the community about Fractal?
Yeah, like I mean, I don't have much else to say except that, like, I think the whole team really appreciates the community's excitement or, you know, feedback or even FUD, because that shows that there's at least some people that cares about what you do. So yeah, so appreciate everything, and we'd love to do this more. I think I've heard a lot personally, and also people from my team have heard that there seems to be this so-called East-West divide, especially regards to Fractal, because a lot of people know about Unisat and knows there's a Chinese team, and they think that we don't communicate enough. So you know, this is us making an effort. Oh, and also, you know, thank you for asking us to on the space. I hope that we do have more opportunities like this to talk to different communities, and I don't think there's ever a divide, because you know, everything's open on Twitter, and like even if you can't understand it, you can translate it, right? So I think people know, it's just that like people have like different circles and different people that they follow for information, and some of that sometimes it can be skewed, but we'd always love more opportunities to chat to you guys just about anything. And also I just wanted to say, like, I hope that the next time that we come on here, I can get some alpha from the community. Maybe like fractal or non-fractal alpha. I feel like since you know, like, I mean, when you start working on a project, it gets very hectic, and like you're not as, you know, degen as you are before, like looking for all kinds of alpha on Twitter. Like there's not much time to do that anymore. So like, yeah, so like I really want to use these like Twitter spaces as opportunities to get some alpha. But yeah, sorry to cut you off, Jake.
Oh no, you're all good. I guess
awesome.
the alpha is cat 20s.
And Vivian, really great
F
job.
runes, baby. F runes. Everyone in the space, give me a follow.
For Vivian, it's really impressive that you're able to kind of, you know, communicate so well and so balanced in both English and I'm guessing Chinese. I see you writing Chinese on your timeline. Just, you know, not as your first language. So these technical conversations can be a little bit difficult, but I think that, you know, to do it in a secondary language would be insane. So congrats to you. That's amazing. That was really awesome.
Thank you.
Final kind of notes here. If you guys enjoyed the conversation, please follow the Emblem account. We host this show Tuesday through Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, hosting all the different builders and across the Bitcoin and cross-chain and UTXO space. We will be back tomorrow talking market discussion, and on Thursday, I believe we're hosting the Unicross team, who's been doing some interesting stuff over there on Merlin Chain. Please give Vivian a follow so that you can stay up to date with the Fraccoin Bitcoin ecosystem, and also give Flare.gg a follow as well, as they're the homies and they're building some cool stuff. Please make sure that you follow just everyone on stage in general, especially the Emblem account. And we'll be back here tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, everybody enjoy your Tuesday and have a good one.